Cool. All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another session of Obsidian Office Hour. And so, what we're here to do today is we're here to talk about a reading app that I've been hearing a lot about called Omnivore. So, if you think about the problem set from where we're coming from, a lot of times when we're taking notes and we're thinking about how we want to ingest those notes, it's nice when everything, side by side, you have your book, you have your note taking app. That's great. But on the other hand, if we really think about it, a lot of times when we're reading, whether it's on our Kindle, whether it's on a physical book or whatnot, or especially digital things, it can be rather tricky to keep everything in sync. And so there have been various services that have come up over the years in order to help address that problem. But when it comes to syncing with Obsidian, the one that's most popular that's been talked about, I think, most commonly, often is Readwise, which I do personally use at the moment. But I'm always looking at new tools and better ways that tools might better integrate with Obsidian. So I've been hearing a lot about this other tool called Omnivore. And so that's what we'll be taking a look at today. As always, if anyone has any questions about Obsidian or wants to kind of has any tangents on that end, this space is here for that. So with that said, let's just kick things off, shall we? And let's jump right in. All right. Okay, looks like everything's good. Live screen is good. Fantastic. Okay, so let's take a look at what we got today. Today we're talking about, okay, so we got that, boom, boom. And we are talking about the state of book notes. Okay, so let's talk about where I currently am at the moment. As I mentioned before, currently I'm using Readwise. You can see here, which is the Readwise official plugin. And what it does is it syncs in basically highlights from the various platforms. So that's not a big deal. All right. So let's go ahead and switch over to the Readwise then. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So there's that. Readwise there. Let's sign in. So, never for the site. What we can see here that inside of Readwise, you're allowed to basically import from various different connections. So as you can see here, I have like Kindle connected, and at one point I was playing on a Twitter Medium. But as you can see here, some of the stuff has been imported in a little while. So at this point, like Readwise does its job as far as syncing notes, but always thinking of what we can do to better optimize for getting all those thoughts sort of connected. So in terms of Kindle, for example, we can see here, there are a bunch of different books that I've read and, it wants the, I don't want that. How do I, I know what it is, sorry. Apparently there is a way, close. Where'd my Readwise go? All right, that was confusing. Okay. So in terms of the export, you can see here, where was I? Okay, sorry. I was inside the import, and I was trying to show you the Kindle, which is weird because I was trying to show what books you can actually sync specifically. And so if I skip here, you can see, nope. So this is part of it. Apparently, this is not as clean as I thought it would be because, again, I'm clicking on Kindle, and it's trying to bring me to this Readwise Chrome bit, which I really don't want to do. I don't want to add this. So that's no fun at all. All right, whatever. So be it if it wants to be insistent on that. Basically here, you get to connect and sync it, and so you can export it to a specific thing, which is in Obsidian. So to show you an example of this, recently I've been reading The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. You can see here that it's synced a bunch of stuff. There's a template. It attempts to do an image, which right now is definitely looking less than optimal. And then down here, we can see here that it's synced a bunch of the various highlights here. But, this is kind of a massive text at the moment. And one of the challenges with Readwise, though, is that there is a paywall behind it. In other words, you do need to pay for it in order to use it. And so, of course, we're looking to see what other options there are for people who might not be in the camp where paying for a service like this is really worth their time. But there are a lot of open source stuff. So let's go ahead and actually take a look at Omnivore. So with that said, let's go ahead and open up an Omnivore. Let's see, Omnivore. Let's have that opened up as well. This is an app that I'll take notes on as we go through it. So let's jump right in. Okay. So as you can see here, Omnivore here is basically the whole thing is about being free, open source, read it later. And so we're going to jump right in right from the beginning. So let's sign up for free. And I'm going to continue with email. So let me go ahead and sign up for a new account here. Give me one moment while I do that. New item, log in. password. All right, and then I think this will do the trick. Do save here. And okay. All right, great. That's working as expected. Let me just go ahead and verify said email. Verify the email, and we're good to go. Okay, so if I refresh here, will it let me log in? Omnivore.app. All right, there we go. Okay, looking pretty clean already. I'm pretty happy with this. We have continue reading, we have read later, different highlights, unlabeled. I mean, this actually seems already a little bit more intuitive than the Readwise app, but we need to actually test this, right? So let me switch over to dark mode. That's kind of how I prefer to read things whenever possible. There we go. Okay, perfect. All right, so what does it mean by install? So it looks like we have Omnivore for iOS. Okay, that's pretty cool. And we have browser extensions. Okay, good to know on both pieces. Don't want to do that just yet. I'm actually curious what kind of integrations we can have. So you have logsec, you have Obsidian, and you have Pocket, and you also have Readwise. Oh, that's interesting that Omnivore then also connects to Readwise. So why? Okay, let's play around with it. So we got install the plugin. All right, here we go. So we're gonna go here, community plugins. Let's browse it up. Omnivore. All right, looks good. Install. Okay, successfully installed. We're gonna enable it, and let's take a look at the options. So okay, looks like we need an API key, custom query, last sync, sure, highlight order, front matter, article template. Wow, there's a lot going on here. All right, one thing at a time. So now that we have this, we're gonna come back inside of our Omnivore app. And let's see what we can do. We can okay, API keys. Here we go, generate API key. And then let's do a test API key, because that way y'all don't have to worry. Actually, let's just do this. This way it'll actually just expire, but this is a test API key. Generate it. So this is what we should be pasting in. So I'm gonna copy that. And then inside of our Obsidian, we're gonna go ahead and drop that in here. That looks good. Filter, custom query, sure, fine. That's good. Now let's actually test this out though. So we're gonna install, let's do the browser extension here for Omnivore. Let's add that. Okay, looks like it's been added. Great. Now what? Learn about the browser extension, meaning we can say stuff. So if I do Omnivore extension, okay, it looks like we can add notes, we can read now, we can do a bunch of stuff. But okay, so let's test this out. Okay, already see some pretty interesting stuff. So let's actually go into the Obsidian sort of newsletter. So the Obsidian roundup here, and then oh, I thought that was the actual website. Looks like the forum post is more popular. Okay, so let's take a look at some of the recent ones. So here, for example, let's say, for example, ID, global ID, better PDF, password protection, Obsidian. Oh, in-app protection, that's pretty cool. Sync and publish notes, laws of form, markdown chords, style importer. All right, so let's just say for now, we want to take a look at this. Oh, there's a projects plugin. Oh, this is interesting. What is this right here? Okay, so projects has changed. And so now what we can look at here. Okay, let's say this is something I want to read about later. Plain text project planning. Creates projects from folders and data view queries. This is actually something I do want to take a look at, actually. So theoretically, what I'll do here is I'm going to go ahead and open up the Chrome extension for Omnivore. Oh, that's not what I want at all. Go back. Did that not work? That's one of my, oh, there we go, that did work. Okay, that's a little bit one of my complaints right now with the browser, the Arc app that I've been playing around with, sometimes I've noticed it like switches me out of context I'm not really intending. But anyways, dealing with that later. So by clicking on the Omnivore, it looks like Omnivore. Whoa, that was not what I expected. Okay. Looks like this is gonna have to be something I'll have to reconsider with the live stream regarding its here, let me turn this on. Okay. Manage extensions. Omnivore is here. Great. Then if Omnivore is here, why isn't appearing? Oh, here it is right here. So let me pin it. Okay, so earlier we were, apparently I've lost my history because of how things are working. But that's okay. According to this, I did read it later. Here we go. Home, Omnivore. Is this it? Nope. Oh gosh. Secret of read it later. Get started with Omnivore settings. None of these things are the things I did. So Obsidian projects, which is this. Then if we go ahead and turn on developer mode, just so you all can see the usual bar you're probably used to seeing here. If we do this, we have add note, which I can do. So I can say, this is interest. Whoa. This. Okay, so that doesn't work right now. It's like getting caught in the search bar. I wonder if this is GitHub that's doing this. That's a little unfortunate. And then I can set label, maybe OmniFocus, or not OmniFocus, gosh, my brain. Obsidian. Oh, it's taking control of the S. Oh, I don't like that. Oh, well. So we'll say OOH, future, back. Oh, T to. Oh, it's taking control of all the letters. That's not great. Okay, so I save this. Now that I've saved this, now let's go back to the Omnivore app. Woof. All right, that's something to be said about keyboard shortcuts, though, I gotta say. Okay, cool. So this did work. We see that Obsidian Projects is here. It's got it already pulled out into its markdown because it's pulling the README. That's expected, so that's good. Let's see, labels here. That didn't really actually work out. So let's see, Obsidian office hours, for example. Okay, labeling is pretty clean. What notebook do you want to add to it? Add notes to this document. That's pretty cool. Let's go ahead and say we're going to highlight the fact that we can do create project and folder from data queries. Highlight that. And let's highlight this piece as well. Okay. Now that we've highlighted these two things, my question will be, how do we actually see this inside of Obsidian? So, command palette, Omnivore, sync. Okay, fetching articles. Articles fetched. Did that do anything? My first guess then would be, oh, look, this is interesting. Okay. This did something. It pulled in a bunch of stuff. And it actually pulled the specific highlights. And the highlights come from where? It actually knows where it is. This is pretty clean. I'm not going to lie. This is pretty nice. Okay, wait, but so you can read it on Omnivore. So meaning it has an actual dedicated reader. And you actually have the ability to get the original link. Okay, that I do like. So how does this whole thing work? Because if we take a look at this, it looks like the title is here, Omnivore, read on Omnivore. Okay, highlights length. All the various highlights with the URL so that you can check the original one. I mean, that's pretty cool then, because what you're ultimately getting here is the ability, similar to Readwise, where you're grabbing stuff and it's automatically being synced into your doc. Now, my first question, let's see, frequency, how often it syncs. What folder it's stored in. Data will be stored. Attachment folder is single file. File name. Date format. Date save format. Date highlighted format. Okay, that's pretty nice. Not gonna complain about that. We don't need this Omnivore piece. I honestly, I've kind of stopped using the H1s for titles as well since I've done the inline titles. Front matter here, meaning you can actually custom alias stuff. Okay, that's pretty cool. That means you could actually by default generate some stuff, which is pretty nice. So we see here what date it was saved, date published. Okay. I can get on board with this. So for example, if we try to test this out, if I said like creator, author, I guess, like that looks like I should have grabbed the right thing. If I grab that now and then sync again, Omnivore sync. We'll see now though, interestingly enough, there's an ID brought at the top. This is being done. That's being pulled. No author found. That's totally fine. But what if I did this? What if I made this Obsidian projects plugin like this? Now if I sync it with Omnivore sync. Oh, right. I forgot. We have to read on Omnivore. What if I want to change it? So I'm like, ooh, I really like the fact that it's native. Let's say that it uses web APIs. Highlights this. Now if we sync with Omnivore, okay, that already shows a slight friction to the workflow with this, in that if we take a look now at this new workflow, yep, okay, so it is tying your notes specifically to this format. Like you almost can't, how do I say this? You can't rename the file basically. So what it means is theoretically what I really should do then is something like this. Obsidian projects plugin at this level. And then will that do the trick? So this is the third highlight. Obsidian projects does show up. Oh, does it not? Obsidian projects. There you go. It does show up in the alias as expected. Now the question is, if we go back to Omnivore and we come inside of here, whoop, what happened here? Okay, in Omnivore, we've highlighted that. We've highlighted this. Let's see, refresh. Great. Let's also then highlight the fact that it leaves no trace. Highlight. Back into Obsidian, sync. Oh. I think, oh, it killed everything. Okay, that is unfortunate. Hey, I see Dragon Dust in the chat, and I see Connor. Hello, how's it going? For whatever reason, sorry, there was a delay in seeing that chat. Yes, I don't know why the Streamlabs didn't pull that in. But hello, I see M in the chat. How's it going? Yep, so, hey, I see M.A. Trog in the chat. Yep, it puts everything back every sync. The reason I'm... Okay. So remember, I don't want to have to think about this multiple times. So we think about the Omnivore app. Let's start with simple thumbs up, pros, easy to use and set up. No question about that. Thumbs down, cons. Rewrites the entire file every time. Cannot change file name. Okay. I like the fact that it pulls in links easily. Pulls in original links easily. App is easy to use for highlighting and such. Developer said he's working on a fix. Okay, very cool. That's great because, okay, so as always, when we talk about features of software and apps, the reason why resyncing is a big thing is because oftentimes, look, I know in an ideal world, we would read one article, we'd highlight everything once, we'd be done, and we'd move on. But from what I've seen regarding like when you're starting to really leverage note-taking and visual thinking, it's really about the ability to go back and forth on a consistent basis. So in other words, I might read the article once, come into this note, process something. So imagine if I came in here and I was like, okay, so I like the fact that data view is related to this. So I'm actually going to go ahead and just say, I'm going to update this to talk about data view, plugin, yep. And then I'm going to like do some examples, right? The problem is that once I start writing my notes on like, okay, this is how it works, right? Or even if I refactor this to a brand new note to talk about the integrations between the two, everything's going to get lost every single time, which is not ideal. One of the things that I know with Readwise, the way it handles that situation is that, especially when you're reading like a book, right? In a web article, you might argue that you'll read it once, you'll highlight it, and you're kind of good to go. So it's kind of not necessary for you to like worry too much about that. But in the instance of a book, I don't know how many of you read a book in a single sitting every single time. That does happen to me on occasion, but generally speaking, you're going to add new highlights. So what I would have expected is that there would be sections of this where it would be like, imported on, let's say 1:25 p.m. And then later it would find the same article because it's synced with Obsidian, that it knows this ID theoretically. Like that's what I think it should be tracking, not necessarily the file name. Which, don't get me wrong, I understand is a little bit tricky, probably with Obsidian's API, that if you're going to directly target a file with the titles, it's easier to do. But then later, for example, if we're importing new one, then I would expect something like, imported on 1:30 p.m. And so, yeah, here, you can rename in the template in your desired format. So it's like highlights here, highlight URL. Yeah, so there's a way for us to format the title of the file. This is true. The only thing I was thinking here, though, is that, for example, this title doesn't mean very much to me. I'm very rarely gonna remember Marcus Olson. I'm only gonna think Obsidian Projects plugin, which is kind of an interesting bit here. So, and then I guess to test this, I'm actually a little bit curious. If I'm like, oh, okay, I'm done with this. And I wonder what this progress bar means, actually. Does it mean like how much I've read? Anyways, so if I come in here and I mark as read, what happens? And I refresh. Oh, so it's got all those. So that was a reading progress. Then if I delete the note, all associated notes and highlights will be deleted, which makes sense. But then what I think I'm curious of now is if I come in here and sync Omnivore, it looks like, okay, that's good. It did not delete it. So that's a good thing. I was kind of afraid it would do that. So not actually, in that regard, I'm not as concerned with, as far as general web article syncing, because especially when you're on your phone, like I have a bunch of bookmarks that are like things that I want to read, haven't read yet. But I like what I'm seeing here with Omnivore in terms of being able to easily sync, have it pull in the right information, and have that grab. So again, since this is an Obsidian office hour and we're talking and sort of looking at the two different one, then let's see, actually, let's actually show this then in direct contrast to Readwise, because we have the time to do that. And I think that would actually be useful for anyone who's watching this. MA Trog here, you can put it in the template, title by author. Oh, okay. So just to kind of see that in action, it looks like here, file name. Yep. And so, oh, you're talking about in here regarding this part? Right. So what's being talked about here is basically being able to be like title by author, like this. So if it's like this, let's try. Oh, wait, we won't be able to sync this one. I forgot. Because the reason being, I need to actually save this again because I deleted it. Once again, really irritating to me that GitHub takes over all keyboard shortcuts, meaning even the extensions don't get priority, which is kind of surprising because you've already switched context by that point. So that always is, that's a little bit surprising to me. Anyways, wait. I definitely added it. Okay, here we go. Boom. Okay, that's good. All right, now we sync. Sync with Omnivore. Fetching articles synced. Oh, nothing happened? That's weird. I'm gonna highlight this. Omnivore sync. Okay, that worked. So I guess if it didn't detect any changes to the file, it doesn't redo it. But you can see here, and there's the title, who it's by. It looks like there is no author, which is why this is going blank. But yeah, not too shabby. Yeah, I'm fairly happy with using this as basically like the web clipper that I'm seeing so far. Okay, so this is good. Now, let's compare this directly. So if we go to Readwise, for example, and this time, to be fair, Readwise did say to actually add the Chrome extension. So let's actually do that so we can get a one-to-one on what we're doing. So we do the import, yada, yada. Yes, this time I will actually do said extension talking to Amazon to sync highlights. Okay, so there we go. So this is the dashboard I was looking for. I'm a little surprised though, because I totally thought the Readwise would have shown that. But anyways, all right. So we have all this stuff. You can see books, configures, yada, yada. Okay. So let's see. Let's do this in a fair way. How am I going to do this? All right, I'm going to save this. We're going to open up the dev tools once more. Yeah, I think I might actually switch back to Chrome, to be honest, because I think the different UI might eventually bite me later. Okay, so this has been, I don't want to add this. I don't want this. I want Readwise. Okay, so now we're going to go back to the Obsidian projects right here. And let's say for Readwise, oh, that's not what I wanted. How do I, let's see. Articles. Okay. How do I Readwise Chrome extension? Readwise highlighter. Oh, okay. Makes sense, I guess. We're about to find out. Okay. Put it in the top. Yeah, sure. I got you. So if I open up once again, open the dev tools, markdown, pin this, open that, reload tab. Okay, so open up Readwise highlighter. Okay, so it's saved to reader. So just by clicking it, it did do that. What is auto highlighting? Okay, we have labels too. This is search. Oh, okay. So interesting enough, we can see that there's a difference in the autofocus. So inside of here, I can actually do Obsidian office hours without triggering the GitHub. So that's probably a small bug I can help file for later. This will go into the inbox. We can add comments. Okay. Again, what the heck is auto highlighting? So again, let's just try this real quick. Is it like if I do this? Oh, okay. That's kind of neat. So you're obviously highlighting directly in Readwise, which is pretty nice. And okay, so there we go. We have these two. So now that we have that, let's open it inside of the Readwise reader. Readwise reader. Okay, Readwise. Here we go. Dashboard. And then we have our articles. This did work. And if we open this up, okay, this is the difference. Okay, so already I'm seeing some small differences here. So if I split this up and then we grab Omnivore's app side by side, and we grab it here. Okay, so we'll see here actually that the two readers are different in the sense that Omnivore takes basically a plain text version of the document and makes it easy for you to access. Granted, there's nothing, let's see, discard, master, I don't even know, math feedback, yep, tag, favorite, share, view, original, highlight. Oh, we gotta install another. I already installed this though. Yeah, I already installed this. So this is, okay, start reading. I don't understand. Okay, so this is a Readwise app articles inbox. This is so weird. All right, closing this real quick. So once again, here, view original highlight. Okay, so this one does do it where it's easier to see, but you'll notice though that when we take a look at these two, so let me do this. Let me bump this up. Let me bump that and then do it like this. Can I split? There we go. Now I split. Now we have this. And okay. I will say split screening, one of my favorite parts of Arc. It does make it easier to have that side by side. So it looks like between the two, Omnivore it actually does take this a little bit more natively. So I'm already noticing there clearly are differences between the two in that it doesn't actually ingest the whole thing. It just brings back little pieces of it, which aren't able to overlay here. Yeah, so I actually don't really love this reading experience from Readwise. Feels a little clunky to me in that regard. So huge hats off to Omnivore for this, in that it kind of lets you retain the article as you're going through it. Because otherwise, yeah, the highlights here, once again, I'm not sure how usable that really is on an app factor. So let's see. Let's talk about this a little bit more than Omnivore. So great reading experience within the app. We'll say this is better than Readwise. Oh, I didn't have that as a pronoun, as a Readwise, which only displays clips. Yeah, because I like the fact that it's kind of embedded in, I will say, because if I open up the notebooks, yeah, you can see the highlights directly. So this seems actually, at least this reminds me of the Kindle interface. So this is cool. I do like this. You can annotate the document directly, which is kind of nice. So actually, if we do that, we say, this could be pretty cool if we combined it with Obsidian task plugin. Okay. So then if it's like that, saved. So once again, let's jump back over here. And then let's sync this two together. Oh, sync the wrong thing. Here we go. Hey, wait, it didn't sync the notes? Wait, that's surprising if that's the case. Yeah, the note is here. It totally should sync the note. Let's sync again. Did not sync the note for some reason. Go back, go back. Yep. All right, one more time. I'm just going to delete this just for the sake of argument. Sync Omnivore, resync all articles. And yeah, it only did the highlight again. No note. That's a little bit weird. Okay. Anyways, to be honest, oh, MA Trog here. Yeah, so apparently the note is not syncing. So it's not just me. I thought that was a little bit odd. Okay, but again, though, actually, the one thing I do want to, actually, I'll make sure this is set in the end, but this is an open source plugin. In other words, it's actively being worked on, and this is by no means the final state of things. This is just like a high level kind of testing things out in terms of some real world scenarios so that people have something to look at side by side. Janice here in the chat, one thing to consider as well, which is great thing that I want to actually mention for Omnivore as an app, is that there is a roadmap to eventually allow it to be self-hostable. And so, especially for those in the Obsidian community who wants to make sure that either they own the entire process of their data, whether it's data pipeline and whatnot, the fact that Omnivore can be self-hosted is a great thing, because then basically what that means is you don't have to worry about a third-party service actually seeing your data, which can be a huge pro for a lot of people. And obviously, if you don't care about self-hostable, not relevant to you at all. But great call out to Janice. Thank you for that. Oh, Dragon Dust here is saying that on Omnivore, the default here is to actually only do highlights. I think that's it. Are you saying inside of here? Because the note is definitely being referenced here. Is single file, file name, folder format, advanced settings, Omnivore, do the Discord server, manual sync, front matter, metadata, highlight order. Oh, it's applied, sure. Last sync, custom query. Not just, oh, here we go. Import just highlight, import all of my articles. Okay, this is better. Okay, got it. So in that case, then, if we do this, Obsidian sync like that, articles fetched, fetching articles, still only fetch the one. So I'm assuming then it doesn't, okay, let's close Readwise now. It actually doesn't assume any of these are articles, because I guess these are, well, no, Secret Power Read It Later apps, that's an article. Why isn't that brought in as like a read it later? Continue reading, read later, highlights, just the one, unlabeled, files, archived. Okay. A little bit confused. So we come through here. It's saying, yeah, we can add labels, sure. And then we can add labels, you can search through labels, advanced search through labels. Sure, that's cool. So I'm just gonna go ahead and mark this. Oh, how do I do this? Remove archive. Okay, so now it should no longer be in my inbox. All right. And then I can delete this because I actually don't want to bookmark Readwise. Okay. So, no, wait. I archived this. Refresh. Oh, okay. So there's kind of an unexpected caching thing going on with the web app as well. You can see, because I did archive it. It wasn't until I refreshed it that I was able to do that. And now, if I look at archive, here is archived as anticipated. But once again, if we went ahead and said settings here, cool, these are all the different settings you can do. I'm not really concerned about this right now. Then we can go ahead and archive this. Whoop, here we go. Here's archive. And then, oh, did that actually work this time? Organize it with labels. Yeah. Okay, interesting. Slight caching thing. Not a huge deal. Oh, the filter. Okay, hold up. So I see Dragon Dust here in the chat. Oh, okay, I did find it. Yep. So all articles should be it, but what's advanced? Advanced filter type? Oh, it must be advanced query then. No, I want everything. And if it's everything, you would think that I would have more. There we go. Now that's working. Okay. Not too shabby, I guess. Interesting. I don't know what other, because the thing I don't like actually about this titling bit right now is, can we actually do like a, let's see, metadata, author, can we do source, site name? Oh, site name might be good. This might be good. So instead of like just, because if you saw like setting, I don't love that, because what that tells me, settings is such a generic thing. That's not great. So let's delete all this folder again. Let's Omnivore sync. Omnivore resync. Okay, so clearly there's a difference between sync and resync. And then that didn't work as expected. You would think site name would have worked, but maybe I was wrong for doing too many brackets. Okay, apparently the only 3 things are this. Maybe that's my problem. Because if I do date saved, maybe this will work. So resync all articles. All right, there you go. So we can see here, everything's been resynced via the date names, which is not terrible. But I wish we had the ability to see the source. That's like the first thing I want to be able to do. Either like the domain name or something inside of the title to actually give it something distinguishing. It's kind of the first thing that comes to mind for me. Okay. So, at least up front from what we're seeing here, Omnivore is looking actually pretty promising then, as far as like a chance to read all your different articles and keep it synced in one place. Generally speaking, I like what it does in terms of bringing stuff down. In terms of like progressive syncing, that's something that's clearly being worked on and isn't fully functioning yet. But on the other hand, it does work. So for those of us reading web articles and who kind of just want to use it as a way to kind of queue things and then move forward, I do think there's something to be said about having, like, this workflow is already quite clean as it is. And again, unless you're reading a book, then you're going back and forth. So the only thing I think really stopping any sort of, like, the only hesitation really at this point is the fact that when it comes to integrations, you still need, looks like you still need Readwise in order to actually, you still need Readwise to actually sync your Kindles, which I'm a little surprised. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. It probably is a decent amount of effort. By decent, I mean a lot. My only thing though is that why is it not working? Click. Is this not working? Connect to Readwise. Oh man, what's going on? Some overlay that I can't see? That worked. Webhook was fine, but this is not. And it's kind of weird that I can't inspect the element. There's like this giant div that's just sitting. And then, there we go. Yep, button. Oh, so literally was an overlay that was blocking it. That's a bug. At least I think it was a bug. Then we can set a token here. Okay, fine. Let's play along. Get access token. All right, once again, I'll revoke this access afterwards so people don't have to worry about it. Okay, API token has been set. It's been done. Yeah, again, something is covering up this div, which is a little bit weird. Okay, so I've connected it. Now what? Continue reading. Where's my stuff? How do I sync it all? Integrations. Yep. Revisit. Book highlights. Use our Readwise integration sync to sync your highlights. I don't understand. I just added it. So install. That's not it. Emails. Oh, interesting. You can send emails with this. I was not expecting that. Okay, that's a little bit odd. Huh. Okay. Yeah. It does look like that part is not working as expected. Okay, so we can, I guess I'll make note of that right now. Can't sync ebooks without Readwise. This is not really working at the moment from what I can tell. And then the only other thing too that I want to do here, let's recollapse this side. I'm just going to delete this because I don't need it anymore. First look at Omnivore. Boom. Okay, so the docs here are for people who want to take a look at the official docs, which is great. Okay. So I think that's basically it. It looks like we got a high level understanding of Omnivore in terms of its ability to read and sync articles. And so as an open source software, it's honestly, I'm really liking what I'm seeing here. And I know that especially with these open source projects, likely with more contributions and as the creator keeps working on it, I do think there will be a lot of value that people get out of this. So yeah, so far so good. Okay, I guess we can do some closing thoughts on this in the meantime. Let's see. Exo Dragon here. I'm not sure about Readwise, but Omnivore also has subscriptions to newsletters. Oh, that's cool. Okay, so newsletters. How would we do the newsletters bit? Read later. So there must be some sort of integration then in terms of that. If you're talking about newsletters, I wonder. Yeah, it's interesting. Why would you? I guess Pocket is a way to sync all of that. Possibly. Okay. I'm kind of curious how the newsletter bit would work actually, because I can't see anything obvious regarding the newsletter piece. I mean, let me look real quick. Omnivore newsletter. Oh, that's what that is. So basically, what is it? Newsletter hosted on Substack. You're saying once you put in the email. Oh, fascinating. I did not, that is not what I would have guessed with the create new email. Okay, so that's actually pretty cool. So in other words, what we're saying here is rather than flooding your email inbox with more things to read and managing it directly there, you can actually have it go directly to your Omnivore app. That is actually pretty cool. So I'm going to jot that down. Can subscribe directly to email newsletters with email functionality. Yeah, again, I would that's like a small bit of feedback then, probably for that end. I totally would have assumed this like a new, like I would have liked a little bit of docs for like create new email address that you can subscribe via newsletters to. So I mean, although I'm kind of curious though how that works with the spam detection. So for example, for Obsidian Roundup, because that's something that I do like to read. Based on what we just said, if we take a look at this, I could create a new email address like this. And then I could come inside of this Obsidian Roundup and I could subscribe like this. Whoop. So Ben Hong. Boom. Sign up. Boom. Okay, so it says that to sign up the confirmation link, then do that. And so I'm curious though how it would actually. Oh, you can actually see the emails in here. Oh, snap. So then there actually is an email server in here that allows you to see that. So if I refresh now, does it give me, it still says I only have 0 subscriptions, even though I just clicked on one. View recently received emails. I definitely just clicked it. So what happened here? That's weird. Okay, maybe it's just a delay for now, but I like where that feature is going. That is pretty darn cool because it's pretty tricky, I think, a lot of times to keep track of everything. So we'll see there. Hey, how's it going, Daniel? How's it going? It does not count the invite email. Okay, so maybe it's more like when a new one comes in, it'll actually shoot that update. So anyhow, okay, pretty interesting. That is cool. So all right, let me switch over to the full camera now because I think it's time for us to do the wrap up. Okay, so today what we've done, we've taken a look at Omnivore and basically done actually a little quick comparison to Readwise. And so while they're both aimed at helping solve the problem of marking things to read later on, and then having those notes or highlights sync up into your Obsidian vault, one of the things that Omnivore does not currently do without the help of Readwise, from what I can tell, even though I could not get it working this particular session, is the ability to actually sync your ebooks. And so I do a lot of reading on ebooks, doing a lot of highlighting just to process ideas and that kind of stuff. So for that reason alone, I don't think Omnivore could be my sole solution for read it later. However, I do like sort of the general ecosystem and as far as the direction that it's going regarding how it's ingesting articles. And I haven't got a chance to play with the iOS app, but that's something I'd also look forward to as well, because a lot of times when I'm either browsing on my phone, seeing things that people are recommending on social media, it's typically when I'm surfing on my phone. So if I could easily sync those articles into the desktop app and the Omnivore, that is pretty promising. And so if I can get that set up at one point and do a little comparison between Readwise and Omnivore in the sort of mobile experience, I'll be sure to make a note of that as well. But as far as the desktop experience goes, basically both still have their merits, Readwise and Omnivore. If you're mainly doing web articles and things that can easily be synced via this, or even as we played around at the very end, if you want newsletters fed directly into this so you can read it later, then I think that Omnivore is a really strong contender for those looking to give this a shot, especially because as of this point, it's completely open source, completely free. I could totally see a point where they eventually start charging for the hosted version of this, whereas the self-hosted version would be completely open source, at least assuming they're continuing that model. That would be free for users. So I wouldn't be surprised if at some point there was some sort of pricing structure applied to it at some sort of cap, because whoever is building this, them and the team, there are costs to running all these different things. They're running email servers and all that stuff. So I wouldn't be surprised on that. However, I do know usually the open source community is very good about communicating, or they try to be, in terms of pricing and that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't be too worried about sinking your time into this ecosystem and then worrying that they'll suddenly paywall all of your content and you have to figure out what to do. By the time you're actually using this heavily and you're considering actually whether or not to pay for it, I think that's something you can make that decision at that point. But otherwise, I think from what we've seen today, can definitely recommend Omnivore and for you to check it out. So I think with that said, I think that really is a wrap for today as far as Obsidian office hours. It was really helpful. Thanks to everyone in the chat for sharing your Omnivore experiences and sort of your tips and tricks for how you've been using it. I'll definitely be integrating it into my workflow to try it out for a while and kind of see how it goes between the two. And so who knows, maybe we'll do a 30-60 day wrap up or roundup of how things are going as I've been using Omnivore with Readwise side by side and seeing if anything has changed till then. But as far as first impressions and first looks go, Omnivore is recommended for you to check out for those who like reading things and marking it to read later and then syncing that with your Obsidian notes. Cool. With that said, oh my gosh, it's the Cassidy, legendary Cassidy. Hello, how's it going? But yes, it looks like we are at a wrap for today. So once again, for those who want to check the schedule, I haven't posted next week's yet, but if you go to benkozen.io/schedule, you'll see all my live streaming up there, as well as over time, more and more content is going to be posted up there. That's not even included in the live stream. So I recently just got my Go CMS set up with that. So you should see more written content as well coming out. I'm pretty stoked at what's coming as far as the infrastructure that I've been building out. All right. So with that, thanks everyone for watching today. I will see you all another time. Again, for those who do have questions, though, if you're watching the recording or later on you think of something you want me to cover, can't speak. If you see something you want me to cover later on, please don't hesitate to go ahead and drop a comment in the YouTube drop a comment in the YouTube video comment thread. And then once again, another thing that's on my list as well, there will be an FAQ box that we'll be putting up. I want to say probably within the next couple weeks, so that people can actually just submit their questions directly to me, and you don't have to worry about whatever platform that you're currently on. So, all right, it's been fun, everyone. I will talk to y'all later. Bye-bye.